last thing I want to talk about. Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh have gotten a good amount of criticism from their fan bases this year. Remember when Pittsburgh tied with the Detroit Lions? There were a lot of Steelers fans that were on social media saying that they wanted Mike Tomlin gone. And with the Baltimore Ravens losing to the Green Bay Packers, they decided to go for the win instead of going for the game-tying field goal and playing for overtime. And they've gotten a lot of backlash. Now, I don't feel like either any of these coaches need to be fired. Their jobs are now on the hot seat. But I kind of feel like the criticism these coaches have had about them have kind of been a little bit unfair, because like most of the criticism about John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin is the fact that they have underachieved over the last couple of years, which I can understand. That you go back to 2019 when Lamar Jackson had his MVP season and they ended up getting knocked out by the Cinderella story, which was the Tennessee Titans that year. That left a lot of Baltimore Ravens fans really upset, because that was the year that a lot of people felt like Baltimore could finally win the Super Bowl for the first time in a while. Then you look at Pittsburgh. When it comes to Mike Tomlin, everybody brings up the fact that he wasn't able to do anything when he had Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Big Ben all in their primes, and they came up short. The closest they ever came to sniffing the Super Bowl was when they got blown out by the New England Patriots in the AFC Conference Championship game. But when you look at these two coaches now, I feel like they have been coaching some of their best football that they've ever had. And you guys got to remember that these are two of some of the longest tenured coaches in the league. Mike Tomlin has been a head coach for Pittsburgh since 2007, and John Harbaugh has been a head coach for the Ravens since 2008. So with these fan bases, they're kind of tired of them. They kind of want to give somebody else a shot, but I want to tell you guys that if you're a Ravens or a Steelers fan and you think that your team should make a switch at head coach, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Because these two coaches have been coaching their tails off. Like, the Ravens are 8-6 right now. And remember all of the injuries that they had even before the season began. Like, they lost like 4 of their running backs. All of them went down. Then you lose like Marcus Peters, and Marlon Humphrey gets injured. Now Lamar's injured. Like, the Ravens, to be in the position that they are right now, to not only have a chance of making it into the playoffs, but also having a shot at winning this division, is a testament to how great of a job John Harbaugh has done. And you guys already know how I feel about Mike Tomlin. Like, Mike Tomlin over the last 3 years has been probably the best or the second or third best coach in the league. You gotta remember, in 2019 he went 8-8 with Doug Hodges, who was a undrafted rookie free agent, and Mason Rudolph. He went 8-8 last year. Exceeded everybody's expectations. The Pittsburgh not only made it to the playoffs, but they also won the division. Like, Mike Tomlin has been exceeding expectations, because a lot of people weren't really expecting Pittsburgh to win more than 5 or 6 games this year. There were a lot of people who felt like Pittsburgh was going to end up having their first losing season ever under Mike Tomlin, and that hasn't happened. Now, they have had some performances like against the Detroit Lions when you're like, oh, Pittsburgh should have won that game. But overall, I don't really feel like the criticism right now is based off recent performances. I feel like the criticism about John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin are always about, what happened 3-4 years ago. You guys got to get over that. We got to look at what's going on this year. I know that you probably get upset when you see Baltimore going for it to win the game, but one thing that I really like about John Harbaugh is the fact that anytime there is a critical moment in the game, a critical 4th down situation, or a critical situation when they think about going for it on 2, he always asks his players, what do you want to do? And there are a lot of coaches who don't do that. A lot of coaches just go ahead and make the decision based on what they feel is right. But the fact that John Harbaugh trusts his players enough that he wants to ask them and ask for their input and actually does what they tell him to, it's really heartwarming. Like, there was a clip that went viral a couple of days ago after their loss to Green Bay. Although they lost the game, before they went for it on 2, John Harbaugh went up to his offense on the sideline. He said, "Hey, do you guys want to go for it?" They said, "Yeah, let's go for it." Now, I don't have any issues with going forward on two to win the game. As a matter of fact, I am somebody who always advocates for coaches to try to win the game instead of playing for overtime. You play to win, you don't play to lose. And if you play in overtime, there is a possibility that you may not even get a chance to win the game because you might not even get the ball first. So the opposing team could get the ball first and they could just go down the field, score a touchdown, and game over. So I'm always a big advocate of coaches being aggressive, going for it on fourth down, going for it on 2-point conversions. However, didn't really like the play call. For the life of me, I don't understand why teams call play action, rollouts, or bootlegs in the red zone. It makes no sense when you could have ran the ball. You could have did the read option with Tyler Huntley. Like, there's so much you can do. But the players, after, the 2-point conversion failed, they came up to him. Mark Andrews said, great call. You get what I'm saying? Like, John Harbaugh loves his players, and the players love him, and the Ravens have built a family atmosphere up there in Baltimore, and I really don't feel like it's going to get any better than that. And on top of that, when you look at Pittsburgh, the same thing. Like, Mike Tomlin has been doing a phenomenal job, the Steelers team, because to be honest with you, this is probably a 5 or 6 win team without Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin is squeezing all the juice out of Big Ben, not having a great offensive line. The defense has kind of underperformed at times this year, especially when you look at the linebacker play, but yet they still have found ways to win games against great quality opponents. Like, there weren't really many people who saw the Pittsburgh Steelers being able to pull off the upset against Tennessee. Now, albeit, they went kind of ugly, they still find ways to win big games against teams that nobody really gives them a chance at beating. Same thing with John Harbaugh. When you look at what these two coaches have done this year, it's been really phenomenal. And I think that both the Steelers and the Ravens are heading into a really good place from a talent standpoint going into the next couple of years. I definitely feel like Pittsburgh and the Ravens are going to have a legitimate Super Bowl window opening up for them. Now, the Ravens, you probably could say they already have a Super Bowl window with Lamar Jackson, and if they're able to stay healthy for a whole entire year, they're probably right in that conversation. For Pittsburgh, you definitely have to find, a new answer at quarterback with Big Ben getting up there in age, but you do have some great young talent, some great young talented pieces there. You got Deontay Johnson, who is emerging. You got Najee Harris, who should be in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. You got a really good defense. Still got Cam Hayward. You got TJ Watt. You got Minka Fitzpatrick. Like, there are a lot of great pieces, great young pieces on this Steelers team. And I think if the Pittsburgh Steelers can figure out the quarterback situation and, improve the offensive line a little bit, they definitely can be right back in that Super Bowl window. So I definitely feel like for the next 4 to 5 years after this season, the Ravens and the Steelers are going to be set to be in prime position to make a legitimate run at the Super Bowl because they have great young rosters. They have young players who should be entering their prime years. So I think the best is yet to come. And when you have coaches who have been coaching a team for a very long time and fans, feel like the team isn't having the success that they feel they have, they start getting impatient, and that's when you start seeing fans like what happened after the Green Bay game start going on social media and saying that he needs to be fired. Like, John Harbaugh, if he was going to get fired, he should have been fired like a couple of years ago, but he's still here, and I think he's done a really good job. He's assembled a really good coaching staff, even though the status of Greg Roman returning next year, we don't really know. But overall, the Ravens have done a phenomenal job with what has happened this year with all the injuries they have. It's amazing that they're 8-6. With any other coach, the Ravens probably only have 3 or 4 wins right now. When you look at Pittsburgh, same thing can be said. Without Mike Tomlin, the Steelers are probably only a 3-4 win team. As a matter of fact, the only reason why I predicted Pittsburgh to make it to the playoffs before the season was because of Mike Tomlin. So you look at the criticism that they have underachieved. I think that's a narrative that's based on what has happened in the past. Based off this season, these coaches have overachieved, in my opinion. They have exceeded expectations because I don't really think anybody expected Baltimore to still be in the running considering all the injuries they had, and nobody really expected Pittsburgh to be in this position of even winning more than 5 or 6 games this year because they didn't really have that much talent. So these two coaches right now are coaching some of the best football that they ever had. So the criticism of them underachieving, I think that's a past narrative that is kind of played out now, because if we're judging them based on what has transpired this season and the last 2 seasons, they have overachieved. And if Baltimore can stay healthy, like that was the issue with Baltimore last year, they also had a couple of injuries. If Baltimore can stay healthy, this is a team that not only is probably one of the most talented in the league, but this is probably a team that could be in the running for making it to the Super Bowl if they could stay healthy. That's really the only thing holding Baltimore back, really. And, you know, the offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, his inability to develop an efficient passing game. But overall, like, I kind of feel like the criticism of them underachieving is kind of played out. I feel like both John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin are coaching some of the best football they've had in their whole entire coaching careers, and I feel like the best is yet to come. I feel like the Steelers and the Ravens are both going to be re-emerging in that Super Bowl conversation next season. So you guys let me know how you guys feel about Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. Do you guys feel like the criticism of these two coaches are fair, or do you guys feel like the criticism of these two coaches are deserved? You guys let me know down in the comment section down below. And I appreciate you guys for listening to this episode of the JT Sports Podcast. Make sure that you guys leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed this episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure that you check out the JT Sports Podcast. A lot of you guys don't know this, but every single video that is uploaded on the channel is available in audio format on every single podcasting platform: Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. All you gotta do is type in the JT Sports Podcast on any podcasting service and it should pop up. Or you can go down to the description down below, scroll down, and the links to the podcast should pop up. I appreciate you guys for listening and watching, and I will see you guys with another episode of the JT Sports Podcast.